What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Weekend Roundup here on Touchline Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content going up on the channel. Biggest story of the weekend: Mo Salah signs his Liverpool extension. Lots of drama, lots of question marks, dragging it out till the very end here, but he officially extends for 2 more seasons, keeping him at Anfield and guaranteeing that at least one of Liverpool's 3 impending free agents is going to stay. It looks like Virgil van Dijk will be shortly behind him to also sign an extension. The only real point I want to make here, because most of this stuff is obvious. Salah's a great player. This is what was supposed to happen. But take this back, 9-10 months, because a lot of the conversation has been, how did Liverpool allow this to happen with such important, such great players, to let them all wind their contracts down like this? And it is important to remember a couple things here. You go back to, again, the end of last season, when hypothetically these kind of conversations are having to figure out how to get to an extension. Jurgen Klopp is leaving. You don't know who the manager is. Then you find out it's Arne Slot. You don't know what that's going to be like. You don't know exactly where Liverpool are going to fit into the Premier League hierarchy, right? The expectation was this was going to be a rebuilding, a retooling year, where they were going to take a step back or, not be right there in the title race. And you don't know what Mo Salah looks like at Liverpool without Jurgen Klopp. So there were plenty of question marks, primarily on Mo Salah's side, of whether it made sense to sign an extension. Because there were a lot of unknowns. And then this season happens, where Salah is the best performing player in the Premier League. I still think Rodri's the best player, but he hasn't been here. Point taken, most outstanding player in the Premier League this season. Clearly, there are no questions about how this is working in Slot's system and all of that. And of course, Liverpool are on their way to clinching the Premier League title here. And so if you're Salah, you feel very confident now, not 10 months ago, or 9 or whatever, but now you feel very confident about the direction of this moving forward. And if you're Liverpool, he just keeps applying more pressure to you, because how in the world do you let this guy leave? There's almost this unanimous feeling you have to do whatever it takes. You have to break your traditional policies and philosophy when it comes to your salaries and your wage bill to keep this guy, because he's irreplaceable. And so all along, for me, the solution was where we ultimately ended up, which is you give him the money, reflecting that he is an irreplaceable player on your team, and you do it over a shorter period of time, because there's nowhere better for Salah to go in terms of having ambition. And this is all under the assumption that his heart was not set on going to Saudi Arabia, and I just don't think that was the case, and everything that's happened has backed that up. That if he wants to compete at the highest level, there's no better place to do that than Liverpool. He can go continue to climb the Premier League goal scoring chart. He can go continue to compete for Champions League, compete for Premier Leagues. And you're not locked into something that compromises your long-term plan and kind of your flexibility moving forward if you're Liverpool. Because you don't know that Salah's going to be this player 5 years from now, but you feel pretty confident what you're getting next season, and probably the season after that too. And then at that point, you can revisit this again. Maybe something has happened and Liverpool are starting to fall off, and it makes sense to move into a a new part of Liverpool history without Salah, or maybe at that point, Salah is happy to ride off into the sunset and go to Saudi Arabia. But everything that has happened and Liverpool's success and Salah's brilliance this season just pushed this closer and closer to where there was no other option for either side. Salah forced Liverpool's hand, and if Salah wanted to continue to do this at the highest level, which there's no reason other than him just simply not wanting to, for him to do something other than play at Liverpool, then this is what it was going to be. And it's a short-term deal that works for everybody. This was always the ideal solution in my mind. But I also think it is important to reflect on why wouldn't Salah necessarily be convinced of that this time last year. And I think the reasons for that are fairly obvious. Whether you personally agree with them or not, there were major question marks. And reasons why he would not want to blindly commit what are probably, right, maybe the last two or kind of the best two seasons he has left to Liverpool. And to at least keep his mind open to the options. And everything that's happened has just reinforced that this is where he's supposed to be, that he is still Mo Salah, that Liverpool couldn't let him go, and so here we are. From the actual Premier League games this weekend, one thing I did want to mention briefly and share some thoughts on, and that is the Manchester United goalkeeping situation. I have nothing to add on the actual loss to Newcastle. It's exactly what you would expect when a superior team plays an inferior one. But part of the storyline heading into this game was that Andre Onana got dropped after making the comments about Lyon, saying United were a much better team, then committing 2 errors in a draw that may end up eliminating United from the Europa League. We're going to have to see how the second leg plays out. And really all I have to say is this. Andre Onana was already under enough pressure and enough criticism before all of this. Through the mistakes he's making, his performance on the field, through the situation United are in, right? There are plenty of reasons to criticize United without United voluntarily giving them to you. Or without the goalkeeper specifically voluntarily giving them to you, because they're provided by some of the decisions the club has made, things that have happened since Ineos came in, the overall performance on the field. It is very easy to find reasons to criticize United, and valid reasons. And Andre Onana just hands everybody this opportunity by saying something that was just not an intelligent thing to say from a, does this help my team in any way, shape, or form? And throws all this additional pressure on him when he's already not playing well, and many United fans are already convinced he's not the solution and want him gone. And I feel like, and especially now that, and we'll see where this goes moving forward, but that he was dropped for the Premier League game immediately following, it wasn't even on the bench, suggests and reinforces my initial thought, seeing all of this play out, which is that was the final bridge and it's burned. There is no coming back from this at United if you're Andre Onana. From a performance standpoint, maybe you can. And maybe he comes back and he plays well in the second leg and helps them get past Lyon and helps them go on and win the Europa League. But from a PR standpoint, from a fan relationship standpoint, I don't see any way back. I mean, I guess if he turns into the best goalkeeper in the world, then, the winning and the success kind of cures a lot, obviously. But I don't see that happening. And it was just totally unnecessary. And it's also a perfect illustration of where United are right now. And as soon as he said it, you felt like there was only one way this is going to play out. And that he was going to be at the center of conceding bad goals in that game, with United not getting the result that they wanted. And that is exactly what happened. There was just no reason. His job is hard enough already. He just made it harder on himself. And for what? that's the other part of this I just don't understand is what was the thought process there as to how this was going to be beneficial for him and or the club. So we'll see what happens next. See if he's restored to the number one goalkeeping spot. But even if he is, to me, if you're United, you've got to find a way to either make him your backup or part ways in the summer. Ideally, part ways. Easier said than done, considering the situation and what he was supposed to be when he was brought in and where things are now. But I just don't see how he can be your number one moving forward if you're going to actually make progress in trying to get back to where United are supposed to be. Final thing I wanted to mention real quickly is to just take a moment to appreciate the Vancouver Whitecaps. The Vancouver Whitecaps have lost one game across all competitions since the Major League Soccer regular season started. That game was during an international break in which Brian White was not there. They have gone into Mexico twice against big-time Liga MX clubs and gotten multiple goal draws to advance in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, where they're now going to face Inter Miami in the semifinals. After doing it for the second time midweek, they then hosted Austin FC, who came in with the best defensive record in MLS. Brian White scored 4 times. The Whitecaps missed a penalty and won the game 5-1. I don't know what else there is to say about this team other than they are clearly the class of the West right now. Again, will it continue? It's too early to definitively say they are the best team in the Western Conference and that's going to be reflected the entire rest of the season. We don't know that yet. What we do know is that LAFC are still unable to win games in which they do not score first. The LA Galaxy are generally unable to win games, period. Those are your best 2 teams last season. Nobody else has really impressed. That this Western Conference is up for grabs. And right now, the most informed team in MLS is the Vancouver Whitecaps. And I talked about this in my season preview, that usually in the few previous seasons, they were easy to predict. You felt you knew exactly what you were going to get. Playoff caliber team, some dangerous, really good core pieces, not necessarily enough top-line talent to scare the best teams. But then you make the managerial change, and you kind of go, okay, what if that's able to raise their ceiling? Or what if it lowers their floor? That there was this kind of variable heading into this season of who can they be? Was that as good as they could be? Or did a little bit shake up, a new voice, a change in leadership, fresh perspective, able to elevate them to a new level? And it's primarily the same team. It's still, and by the way, Ryan Gauld hasn't played in most of these games. Brian White is just continuing to get better and better and better. But it's not like they brought in 3 new designated players who are tearing the league up. They're getting some contributions from new guys. And that's every team, every season is going to have new players that contribute. But clearly there was something else that could be unlocked here. And maybe they finish 4th in the Western Conference. I'm not going to sit here today and say that they are definitively the best team in the West. They are clearly the most informed team in MLS at the moment. And I do feel confident they are one of the 4 best teams in the West. Because what are the question marks here? What else can they do? I mean, okay, they haven't necessarily played the toughest schedule. They're in the West, so they're not playing Columbus, Cincinnati, and Inter Miami, 6 times. But they're doing it across multiple competitions. They're doing it on the road in Mexico. They're blowing people out at home. We're just running out of questions to ask about this team to invalidate what they're doing. I'm 100% bought in on this. This is real. What exactly that means, I don't know. We got to wait and see how long they can keep this up and where they are at by the time summer starts. By the time we're getting to the final stretch of the regular season. Can they do it in the playoffs? There are other questions left, but those can't be answered yet. They're answering every single question and addressing every single doubt that they possibly can at this moment. It is an incredible story. It is a really, really fun, interesting, different thing in MLS, and it is definitely worth keeping an eye on because I am 100% all in on this. I believe the Vancouver Whitecaps are legitimately one of the best teams in MLS and will continue to be for the rest of the season. That is all for this edition of the Weekend Roundup. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.